We're in Blackville, South Carolina at Clemson's Edisto Research and Education Center with Gilbert Miller on the annual Watermelon Field Day. Gilbert, what's the purpose, other than that you get to wear this cool shirt, of having this day every year when people can get together?
It's a nice opportunity for the growers to come out and mingle with each other and learn things from each other. But also we have topics that we discuss and hopefully give them some information that they take home and improve their endeavors on their own farms.
We started off inside the auditorium this morning, and Tony kind of had some pretty good information because he said this is kind of a perfect storm year.
Well, we've had a terrible amount of rain this year, and with the rain you can expect to have diseases, and we've had 4 major diseases this year, and usually we only have 1 or 2, but we've had all 4 diseases this year. And Tony, they're not real easy to identify and tell the difference, but unfortunately all 4 diseases take a different crop protectant to protect the plant from these diseases. And so he showed us a little bit about how you can determine which disease you have, which is critically important to the growers.
And then we went out and tried to keep our feet somewhat dry.
Yeah.
And Dr. Hassel talked to us about grafted watermelons.
We've been working with grafted watermelons for several years. Richard, Dr. Hassel in Charleston has done a tremendous amount of work with grafting, and we're doing some plantings up here. And the grafted plant is resistant or tolerant to a soil disease called fusarium. And we're having more and more fusarium. And so the grafted plant is being looked at as a possible alternative or something that could help the grower where they have fusarium in a field. Now, grafted plants across Europe and Asia are virtually 100% in use now because they do a monoculture there. Year after year they're planting watermelons, and so they have to use grafted plants. So we're looking at many different type of root stocks that we could potentially use, and then also the different combinations. The top part of the graft is called a scion, and so you can have just a whole bunch of different combinations, and we're trying to look at as many different ones as we can and see how they respond in the field.
As much as human beings and deer like watermelons, I understand that they're pretty tasty to insects too. And you had someone to try to help with some of those insect problems.
Powell Smith is our entomologist, and he talked about the various insects. For the past couple of years, we've had an insect called the squash bug. And it's an insect that we usually don't have in our fields. This year we didn't have too much. But he talked about the squash bug and the cucumber beetle and aphids and different means of controlling the various insects and what are some of the results of these insects. They also vector some various viruses and diseases, so we have to be aware of that. But fortunately in this field we have not had a lot of insect pressure this year.
I've heard that watermelons need a lot of activity by bees. What's the story?
Yes, bees are very critically important for pollinating, particularly seedless watermelons. They have male and female flowers, and they're only open for 1 day, and so the bee has to visit these blooms, and someone did some research and said it had to be about 21 times to carry enough pollen from the pollinizing plant to the female bloom of the seedless watermelon.
I've never heard of people trying to grow cotton and watermelon and cantaloupes all together. What in the world have y'all been drinking in the water down here?
Well, this is something that was done in South Georgia a few years ago, and we decided to look at it. So we're actually planting the watermelons on very narrow plastic, and then coming back, and before the watermelons come off the plastic, planting cotton. And we just forget about the cotton, manage our watermelons, pick our watermelons, and once the watermelons are done, they come in with Roundup and kill all the watermelons and then manage the cotton. So we did it last year. We were very successful in producing a commercially acceptable yield of watermelons, and then came back and picked some fairly good cotton. So,
Gilbert, one of the things that we saw you do was something with a tractor where you were putting some tube way down in the ground, and you apparently gotten some valuable information from that kind of research.
This is where we're taking root cores, and we started taking root cores 5 years ago, and we've done about 6,000 samples. And we extend down into the ground about 24 inches, and then we look at where the roots are. And we have found that the roots are in the top 30 centimeters, the top 12 inches, where is predominantly what is the active root zone. So what we're trying to encourage growers to do with our irrigation management and nutrient management everything they possibly can to keep the water and the nutrients in that top 12 inches.
And you've got people who have sensors in the field that will come on and off according to signals that are sent over wires or something.
We've got some sensors that are actually measuring the moisture content in the soil. And they're measuring the top 30 centimeters, the top 12 inches. And once we get a 15% deficit in that top 12 inches, they're telling our irrigation to come on. And it comes on just for a short period of time. The goal being to not water so much that we take the water and the nutrients below that 12-inch root zone.
In addition to the wonderful education that you provide, y'all make this such a fun day because we have a delicious, delicious meal. And then we also get to try a lot of the wonderful watermelons. And when we were out there, oh, there was one named Obsession that was just so delicious. But a lot of them just had numbers and letters. And what's that all about, Gilbert?
Well, we plan a variety trial. And we'll plant 25 different watermelon varieties and replicate it and do it 2 or 3 times, 3 times this year. And then so we number them. And those are the ones we get cold and let everybody sample them. So we kind of get an idea of which ones the public likes.
And you said one thing is that used to be everybody wanted a watermelon that's about this big, but that's not what people are looking for these days.
No, the grocery stores have found out that the consumer wants a smaller watermelon, a melon that they can more easily put in the refrigerator or more easily eat at one meal. And so the very large seeded watermelons that we grew up with, now we're looking at a 14-pound seedless watermelon is probably about the ideal size.
We've had such a wonderful time, and we want to thank you for what y'all do for the growers in our state. And we thank all the staff here, including the director, Dr. Mueller, for all the work that goes into making this day available to the public. And thank you for letting us come and learn about what goes into growing good South Carolina watermelons.
Thank y'all for coming.